Hey there and welcome. Whether you are a motivated self-healer seeking to heal from the fallout of accumulated stress or trauma, or a progressive wellness professional of some kind desiring to become more trauma-informed in your work with clients, this video is for you, as I will dive into what people tend to believe is trauma-informed, but it's not, and what is. So stick with me till the end. I'm Jennifer Ellis Schutz, chronic illness and complex PTSD warrior, functional health and lifestyle medicine practitioner, transformational coach, and founder of Wellness Code Academy. So it's becoming increasingly known, understood, and embraced that unresolved trauma, especially emotional and relational types of trauma, play a pivotal role in both the development and perpetuation of many, perhaps all, chronic health conditions such as fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome, autoimmunity, anxiety, depression, and the list goes on. And as a result of this, more and more motivated self-healers are seeking effective solutions to guide them, and more progressive wellness professionals are desiring to become more trauma-informed in their work with clients so that they can be more impactful and keep up with a competitive industry. And because of this, the term trauma-informed has become a massive popular buzzword these days in all of the wellness spaces. However, there seems to be a lot of confusion and ambiguity around this term, and I want to clear that up and shed light on what trauma-informed truly means. So let's get started. All right, we're going to begin by covering what trauma-informed is not. Numero uno, trauma-informed is not saying yes to every request made by those who have trauma to heal. Many people that are on their path to heal from the fallout of trauma, as well as the wellness professionals that they work with, seem to get caught up in this belief that because somebody has trauma, that they need all of their requests met with only the answer of yes. But the truth of the fact is that many people end up in a situation where they have trauma to heal from because they themselves had very poor boundaries to begin with and could not say no when they needed to. And therefore, the relationship between the client and the practitioner needs to be cathartic. And cathartic means that there is an effective modeling of proper boundaries and saying no. And that includes to the person that has the trauma to heal from. Number two is that trauma-informed does not mean avoiding or sidestepping important truths or realities in working with someone that has trauma in the name of preventing a strong emotional response from occurring. So yes, it's important to proceed with care and caution and be gradual in presenting truths and realities to the person that has trauma to heal from, but sidestepping them only further perpetuates their trauma and keeps them likely stuck in comfort zones of safety where they continually repeat familiar yet damaging patterns. And so it's a balancing act of presenting them or helping them come to awareness of important truths and realities, but also knowing when to dial back and support the response that comes with that. Number three is similar to number one, but a bit different. And number three is that trauma-informed is not always allowing those who have trauma to get their way, but rather it's about holding space for them in a compassionate, strategic, and dynamic way, being a sounding board, offering appropriate reflections back so that they serve as a mirror to help the person who has trauma to explore how their way might not be the most conducive and strategic way for them, but also how it might be in violation to others, perhaps the practitioner that they're working with or others in their life. Because after all, healing trauma is all about stepping out of a victim mindset and post-traumatic stress into post-traumatic growth. And this definitely requires one to explore their own thinking, behavioral patterns, ways of doing things, and showing up in their lives in a way that might not be conducive to their healing and the relationships that mean a lot to them in their lives. Number 4 is that trauma-informed does not mean tolerating disrespectful behavior from those who have accumulated stress, trauma, addiction, or pain to heal from. Now, these are indeed reasons for disrespectful behavior. However, they are never viable excuses. And the skilled, dynamic, trauma-informed practitioner will help a client understand that disrespectful behavior that they may be exhibiting is coming from a survival space, meaning their limbic brain, their punch now and ask for forgiveness later brain, their stress center is activating, and their prefrontal cortex, which is home to the best versions of themselves and home of empathy and kindness and rational behavior, is down-regulated. So that's number 1. That's basic brain science of being in a accumulated stress, traumatic state of being. So, and that's the role of the practitioner to help a client understand that. But then it's also the practitioner's role to help them understand that they might be modeling disrespectful behavior or engaging in it because respectful behavior was never adequately modeled for them, and or they were in scenarios where they had to tolerate disrespectful behavior from others in the name of surviving themselves. And now it's evolved into being a pattern in their own life and how they show up in relation to other people, but also themselves. We can exhibit disrespectful behavior towards ourselves in the form of self-harm. And that being said, in my work with clients, I always teach them a very popular saying, and that is always be kind, but never take shit from anybody. And I don't mean this like be tough, but be kind, but look out for yourself, okay? And make sure you implement healthy, constructive boundaries in an assertive, loving way so that you don't perpetuate your trauma and you can step into post-traumatic growth and cultivate vibrant, resilient health in body, mind, and spirit. Number 5 is that trauma-informed is not walking on eggshells to ensure that you won't ever trigger somebody or have what you say cause them to feel uncomfortable in any way. And as I stated earlier, yes, we need to proceed mindfully and informed and compassionately, but always avoiding being triggered or ever feeling uncomfortable is not what healing from trauma is about. We need to face our triggers and our discomfort and explore what's underneath them so that we can heal the core of them and move forward in constructive ways. And I say this because in my early days as a practitioner, before I knew as much as I now know about healing from trauma, I used to walk on eggshells with clients and be afraid to make suggestions for specific dietary changes that I strongly felt that they needed to explore to help their healing, or any other types of lifestyle or behavioral changes, because I knew that it was going to make them uncomfortable. However, I realized that my fear of feeling my own discomfort around saying something that evoked discomfort in my clients was actually not serving my clients in any way. It was me choosing my comfort over their growth. And that's not what an effective, truly skilled trauma and practitioner does with clients. They face it head on and they help the clients move through it with a sense of self-efficacy and strength. Number 6 is that trauma-informed does not mean exempting those who have trauma from standards of behavior, procedures, policies, deadlines, and other rules and codes of conduct that are part of everyday life. I mean, think about it. If you don't make your mortgage payment on time, there's going to be a penalty for it. And the mortgage company is not going to care when you call them up and say, well, I need more time because I have trauma to heal from and I don't want to pay the late fee. They're not going to care. And I put this in there because we recently had a scenario where somebody who was seeking to heal from trauma wanted to purchase one of our programs. However, they missed the deadline for a sale that we were offering by almost 2 weeks. It wasn't like a couple hours or even the day or within the week. It was a significant amount of time. And they requested that we extend the sale price to them, but the sale was over and it wasn't being offered at that time. And we, asserted our boundaries. We said this was our policy and our answer is no. And this person did not like our answer. They felt that we should make a special arrangement, a special deal for them. And we simply explained our position that, deadlines are part of everyday life and that just because somebody has trauma to heal from doesn't exempt them from the deadlines. And she didn't like that. She went on to say that if we were truly trauma informed, that we would not even be implementing deadlines of any kind, etc., etc. And we just held to our ground and modeled our boundaries for her. And we are hoping that her experience of that, though uncomfortable, will sit with her and that she'll revisit it and reflect upon it and realize that boundaries are a part of healing from trauma, whether we are saying them to another person or implementing them with ourselves in our life. Number 7 is that trauma-informed does not mean coddling. It doesn't equate to treating others in an overprotective helicopter way where we shelter them from the stressors of everyday life and or the consequences of their own decisions. And I say this because at the core of post-traumatic stress syndromes is fragility, the loss of resilience, where one's zone of tolerance for dealing with stressors is very, very tiny. And therefore, a foundational component of healing from trauma is increasing that window of tolerance, which commands facing stressors, or I should say learning how to face stressors and the consequences of our own decisions with a greater sense of courage, strength, perseverance, and fortitude, so that it doesn't send us into a tailspin and we can build the strength to rejoin society if we've stepped out and isolated ourselves from it due to our inability to face stressors. Number 8 is that trauma-informed does not mean doing for others what they can and need to be doing for themselves. And I say this because at our core, we are all wired for self-efficacy. In other words, we need to cultivate the fortitude to face challenges, feel the discomfort of them, fumble in our navigation of them, reflect, course correct, and proceed in a way that creates success based on our own doing, our own fruition. This is what helps us to rebuild our confidence and our self-esteem and our strength and our courage and so forth. So very important. Don't do things for your clients that they can and need to do for themselves. Honor their inner strength. Honor their own capacity to figure things out. Number 9 is that trauma-informed is not simply having had and or healed one's own trauma. This makes somebody trauma experienced, and I feel that it's indeed a requirement of being truly trauma-informed. However, being trauma-informed also commands substantial education, training, and experience in order to understand and become skilled at working with the many components and nuances of helping others to navigate and heal from their own trauma. Number 10 is that being trauma-informed does not simply translate into making recommendations for stress reduction techniques, somatic work, vagus nerve exercises, and or referring to a therapist. Yes, this can be part of it, but it's a tiny component. Being trauma-informed goes so much more beyond this, and it requires really having the skills to hold space and help clients cultivate the self-efficacy to adequately face, navigate, and heal from trauma. And I'm not going to go into that in more detail in this point because I will be covering it at the end of the video here shortly. Number 11 is that being trauma-informed does not translate to showing up as the expert and handing out prescriptive protocols that tell clients exactly what they need to do, when they need to do it, and in a linear fashion. This is, once again, undermining their own need and ability to discover and step into their own power. A coach and practitioner's role is to show up as a co-creator, a thinking partner, a facilitator of growth and transformation in the process of becoming one's best own self-healer. And number 12 is that being trauma-informed is not about a specific intervention or standard protocol of any kind. Yes, certain interventions such as EFT tapping, breathwork techniques, which I use and recommend both, and perhaps some standard supplement protocols for helping to reduce stress or address the dysfunction that unfolds in the body are indeed helpful tools, but they're just that. They're tools. Healing from trauma is an extremely vast and unique journey for each one of us. Commanding coaches and practitioners that understand this, help their clients understand this, and hold space in a way that helps their clients figure out the puzzle pieces that they need in order to restore their resilience and cultivate vibrant health in body, mind, spirit, life, and beyond. So what does being trauma-informed truly mean? Both my personal and professional experiences have led me to realize that being trauma-informed translates into having a solid understanding of the difference between accumulated stress and trauma, how each of them unfold in the body, and the impact that they have on the body, mind, spirit system in all aspects of one's life. And being trauma-informed also encompasses being highly trauma-skilled, which means having the know-how and skill to effectively help clients face, navigate, and heal from trauma. And at the core of being trauma-informed and trauma-skilled lies the capacity to facilitate in a way that embodies 4 core components. Component number 1 is safety. At the heart of trauma lies an immense loss of safety, and therefore understanding how to use verbal language, body language, and being skills that foster a sense of safety in the therapeutic relationship and the know-how to help clients cultivate safety in their lives is absolutely critical. Core component number 2 is positive regard. Positive regard is always seeking what works for a client and focusing on their positive attributes and strengths while still acknowledging their challenges and perhaps shortcomings. This is essential because what we focus on grows bigger is a neuroscientific fact. Number 3 is appreciative inquiry, which is based on the notion that to arrive at effective, self-empowered solutions, we must ask effective questions that evoke self-evaluation, discovery, breakthroughs, and as I've mentioned a few times already, self-efficacy. And core component number 4 is empathic reflections. This is the ability to see things through the client's lens, communicate an understanding of their experiences, and act as a mirror for them to self-explore and affirm or negate our feedback. And to add to these 4 core components, a trauma-informed and trauma-skilled approach also embodies the following 4 characteristics. Characteristic number 1 is holistic, in that it supports the healing of the body, the mind, and spirit within the context of one's life story. Characteristic number 2 is personalized. It honors that everyone is unique with bio-individual needs. Number 3, client-centered, which means that it embodies that true healing commands becoming one's own best self-healer versus relying on an expert to fix us. And lastly, it's highly collaborative. It embraces a partnership, teamwork, co-creative effort rather than an expert-based dynamic. And that brings me to the end of this video. If the message today resonated with you and you would like to take a deeper dive into learning how to become a highly trauma-informed, trauma-skilled coach that leads with the notion of self-efficacy and helping your clients become their own best self-healers, then our holistic HTMA Pro program, which teaches the interpretation and implementation of hair tissue mineral analysis through the lens of accumulated stress, trauma, psychoneuroimmunology, and trauma-informed transformational coaching, will likely be right up your alley. You can learn more using the links in the video information below. And this being said, that's a wrap. Until next time, cheers to your healing, resilience, and success.